Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of No Holds Barred here at the Toronto Sun. Rob Wong, Postmedia wrestling writer Jan Murphy with you again, and we are pleased to be joined, as always, by the one and only Nattie Neidhart, who is fresh off her appearance in Mexico for Lucha Libre AAA Worldwide. As part of that tour there, teaming up with NXT's Lola Vice in a three-way tag match. She's also getting ready for, of course, SummerSlam weekend. We got Bloodsport happening as well. So, Nattie, always appreciate the time you make for us to chat about everything going on in the world of wrestling and in your life. But got to start with that experience in Mexico. Just seeing the clips online that surfaced, it seemed like a crazy crowd and it seemed like a crazy time.
It was so much fun. I had the time of my life. I really did. It was just like, I was so excited about being a part of this show because, of course, Mexico is one of my favorite places to wrestle. Our audience there, the fans there, are just like they're like your dream fan. They love the good guys. They cheer the bad guys, or they boo the bad guys. I mean, listen, they cheered the bad guy. They cheered Vikingo, and then booed him. So they were cheering for him and booing him. Like it was crazy. They knew it was like such an intricate storyline. It's almost like they knew that like there was just it was crazy. But they are such passionate, rabid, amazing wrestling fans that I was like, they knew. I felt like they knew the Natty character before I even walked out to the ring. They just totally got it because, of course, when I was doing the AAA show, I was like, okay, am I going to be Natalia or am I going to be Natty? And I was like, I need to be Natty. I need to be her. Like it's not that I don't, and I've been trying to explain this to people. It's not that I don't respect Natalia, but Natalia did what she had to do to survive in WWE. And you can take that for whatever you might think it's worth, but for me, like Natty is like she's just totally different than Natalia. She takes risks. She's a killer, and Natalia is very safe, and she just wants to be do whatever she can do to make everybody happy. So I was like, you know what? I'm doing AAA. These are some of the best wrestling fans in the world. If they get it, they get it. If they don't, it's okay. I'm at a point in my career where I'm really excited to take risks, and I have WWE's like full support in taking risks. So I was like, I'm gonna be Natty, and I was so happy that I got a chance to be Natty because the fans at AAA, they got it, and I was also just blown away by the girls that I was in the ring with. One of those being Fabi Apache. She is one of the most legendary female wrestlers of her generation. And so when I was first approached about going to AAA by Triple H and by Jeremy Borash, I told them both. I was like, I really want to wrestle Fabi. And they both were like, cool, we'll see what we can do, sort of thing. They didn't say yes, they didn't say no, they'll see what we could do. But when I saw her there, I was like, I really wanted to work with her. And I'm happy that I expressed a strong interest in working with her because I think she's really one of the best, maybe one of the best, most unsung female wrestlers of her time. And so getting a chance to get in the ring with her, of course, I felt it was magical. And I feel like, wow, now I kind of know what everybody's talking about. But now that show that I did for AAA, it's setting up Triple Mania. So now I'm actually going to be in a triple threat match against Flammer, who's their current women's champion, and then Fabi. So I'm really excited about it. And I'm actually even more excited about becoming the first ever AAA women's champion under WWE's regime. Of course, I know they've had many women's champions before, but now it's going to be really, it's being run and taken over by, and I don't want to say this in a negative way, but now that WWE is stepping in and they're collaborating with AAA to be that first women's champion under this WWE collaboration, it's just really special. So I'm manifesting it. I'm manifesting that I'm going to become a women's champion there because if I don't believe in myself, who will? That sort of thing. So, but it was so cool. I was also there when Dom was the surprise, and I saw him walking backstage, and I was like, oh shit, Dom's here. And, and he was like, he had this little mask on. He looked like a little bandit. He looked like he was ready to rob a bank. And I actually because he was wearing the mask back, like he was wearing like a ski mask. And I saw his shoes and I was like, those are cool shoes. I know that's Dom. That's got to be Dom. So it was just so funny. But he got an insane reaction because, again, like these fans, they understand. It's like they can like you, they can hate you, they can boo you, they can cheer you. But like at the end of the day, they understand respect, and so everybody is seeing what Dom has been doing in WWE, especially the last few years, and like they just respected the hell out of him. So it was cool. I think Dom was like, "Holy shit, I want to go back to AAA."
So, Natty, we're coming into SummerSlam weekend. There's been a lot of things to look forward to, but nothing has taken the headlines quite the way in the last week of since Hulk Hogan's passing. A couple of days prior to that, another guy with ties to the pro wrestling world, Ozzy Osbourne, passed away. But Hogan's place in history, I will say it here, and I've said it on other forums. If you didn't experience Hulkamania, I don't think you can truly comprehend what Hulkamania meant and still means to the world of pro wrestling as it exists today. Terry Bollea, the man himself, so certainly had some controversies around him, particularly in the last part of his life. But Hulk Hogan, the character, the wrestling figure, the actor, the everyman, the everything, changed the industry, and I know had connections to the Hart family as well. Your thoughts on Hulk Hogan's place in his immortality in wrestling?
I mean, you really covered a lot there, Jan, in the sense that like we think about the first ever WrestleMania. We think, Hulk Hogan was a part of that. He was really the first person in wrestling in WWE, but in just wrestling in general, that transcended actual professional wrestling. He became an iconic person in pop culture, for his time and for across several generations. Even when he was no longer competing in the ring, he was still, doing so much out of the ring. Of course, when I first heard about him passing away, I was doing my show with Busted Open Radio, and I was on there with TJ and with Dave LaGreca, and all of a sudden, like, my phone just starts blowing up, and it's like, I'm thinking, like, I'm seeing like Hogan dead at 71, TMZ reporting, Hogan is dead or whatever, and I just remember thinking, no, that can't be true. Like, that feels like it just, I thought it was just some prank or some, like, something that just wasn't true. And once it was confirmed to be real, and that he had passed away from cardiac arrest, which was what was reported, the first thing I really thought about was I thought about his kids. From a human standpoint, take the wrestler out of it, take the public figure out of it, take the larger than life character out of it. I just thought about his kids. Because I remember exactly where I was when I got the news that my dad died. And I remember I'll never forget it. And it was such a surreal time in my life where I was just stopped in my tracks completely. And it just changed my life forever. Like, it was something that, when I found out that my dad died, it was like my heart broke into a million pieces. And it was something that, I don't really know if people ever recover from a loss like that. And so that's why I thought about Nick, and I thought about Brooke, and like, I know that we see all sorts of stuff in the news that, there's this problem, and then there's this going on, and there's this, and it's hard to even know what's true or what's real. But I will say what's very true is that, knowing the way that I was close to my dad, and knowing the complex relationship that I had with my dad, my love for my dad never changed. Like, I always had this incredible, like, I always held this candle for my dad when he was alive. Now that he's gone, I still hold the same candle for him. Like, it's an unconditional love. So I was able to see Nick Hogan at Raw on Monday, and I gave him a big hug, and I told him that, and he was so stoic. Like, I feel like he just was so strong. And I said to him, I told him a story about growing up. And I said, when my dad lost his job with WWE, like, as little kids, it was hard for us because we didn't, we were like, oh, what do we do? Like, our dad, like, he no longer works for WWE. It was kind of a shocking thing for us to go through. And Hulk was one of the first people that called my dad and tried to get my dad work. And he booked him on, Hulk got my dad booked in Mr. Nanny and got my dad on Thunder in Paradise. And so when you're a kid and your parents are struggling to pay the bills and trying to figure out how they're going to pay their mortgage, he threw my dad a lifeline, when we were kids and we really needed it. So I know everybody looks at him as a wrestler. I know that there's been tons and tons of controversy. I just remember when I was a little kid, and that was just a lifeline a lifeline for us. It's not saying I condone or support any of the negativity. I don't. I just remember my childhood, and I have a lot of sympathy for when somebody loses their parent. You know, it just I can relate to it. So coming from a human standpoint, that's where I'm coming from it. But yes, I gave Nick a big hug, and I just told him I was thinking of him, and like it was just an emotional moment for both of us because, you know, my dad knew his dad well, and they just had a personal connection from the 80s, you know, and so I know that, again, I had a complicated relationship with my dad too, but I don't know, it was just a very human moment. I just felt like Nick needed all the love and hugs and support that he could possibly get during this time. So it felt good to be able to give him a hug and just say I was thinking of him.
You just remind me of when I was a kid. You know, some people would put sharpshooters on, some would do leg drops. You know, we were kids playing in the schoolyard, but all of that to me traces back to Hulkamania. Without Hulkamania, none of the people who can, go to that ring night in and night out, none of these independent companies that are able to exist, none of that would be possible without Hulkamania. So, you know, those who wish to not be part of it because they believe they didn't like the man who was Hulk Hogan probably wouldn't be standing in the ring either if it weren't for him. That's all I'm saying. He changed the industry.
No, and I totally understand. And here's the thing is that I'm a very open-minded person. I understand everyone's perspective. I think it's like this day and age, it's important to have your own views and the way that you see things. And that's the thing is that everybody should be allowed to have their own perspective on it. And I can only speak on when I was this whole situation just brought me back to when I was a little kid. But you know, we all have our own perspective on it. I'm only looking at it from the relationship that I had with Hulk from very, very early on. But people that feel the way that they feel, they're totally entitled to feel the way that they feel. And everybody's allowed to, you know, it's just you have a different, you know, view of the situation. Rob probably has a different view of it. I have a different view of it. And I think in this case, everybody's feelings are valid, but everybody's allowed to have their feelings, if that makes sense.
I'm just not letting Rob talk. That's all.
That's how Jan's feeling about it. But look, we've talked so much about Hulk the last couple of days here with numerous people, and look, he's the industry. That's really the best way to put it. You know, we talk about people on Mount Rushmore, and I know Jan has put it this way: he is Mount Rushmore. There's just not anything, you know, with this industry that hasn't been impacted by what he did 80s, 90s, and even, you know, in recent years. Just people still think of him when they think of professional wrestling and they think of sports entertainment. Before we let you go, Nattie, got to talk about this weekend, of course. Bloodsport happening again. You're taking on Masha Slamovich in what should be a pretty high-octane matchup. She is someone you're familiar with, of course. What do you think? What are your thoughts heading into this weekend?
Well, Masha put out a tweet saying that I should be mentioned in the greats. There's a reason why I'm not mentioned in the greats. Amongst the greats. I mean, I have my phone. I'm talking to you guys. I can't look it up on my phone, but she said something along the lines of, Natalya, there's a reason why you're not mentioned with the greats. Well, who are the greats? I would assume that she means the women that are in WWE that are currently on TV, that are being able to do what it is that they love doing. But what she doesn't realize is that she's talking to Natalya. So she kind of dismissed Nattie. And so it's going to be Nattie that she's going to be facing at Bloodsport on Saturday. And I don't think that Masha quite realizes what I've done at the first Bloodsport, what I did at NWA, what I did at Reality of Wrestling, and what I did at AAA. The last show that I was at. And actually, I mean, what I'm about to do at Triple Mania is going to be insane. So she is going to get a taste firsthand of what it's like to face Nattie. And I can't wait for everybody to watch it and to be there. If you can be there live, you'll get to witness firsthand who Nattie is and why Nattie is one of the most exciting female wrestlers in the world right now. So Masha's going to get that firsthand, and I hope she's ready because I've never been more ready.
No, it's going to be super exciting. Anytime we get to see Nattie come out, it's always a fun time, and should be a really exciting matchup this weekend at Bloodsport. SummerSlam going on in WWE as well. It's going to be a busy weekend for you, Nattie. We always appreciate making the time. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys at SummerSlam, and I'm looking forward to beating up several people, Bailey being one of them. So